great group that's going to be talking about celebrating conceptual understanding in the primary math classroom. And so we have Andrea Higdon. I'm so excited to see you again. Amber Wise and Shellys Ice. I hope I'm saying your name right. I always mess people's names up. Elisa Bynum and Olivia Penland. And you guys have been here before, and you guys are probably sharing lots of more goodies. And we're excited to have you today. I'll let you introduce yourselves and then start right off at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Good morning, guys. I'm Andrea Higdon, your elementary math lead. Happy to hear and serve you. And I just now learned so many quick tips from Kate. I'm inspired to jump into Google Keep now. And I'm going to pass it on and have Amber introduce herself.
Hi guys, I am Amber Wise. I am the AIC at Smyrna Elementary, and I'm going to pass it off to Alyssa.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Bynum, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Smyrna Elementary, and I'm going to pass it on to Shelley.
Hi everyone, I'm Shellys Ice. I am a kindergarten teacher at Norton Commons Elementary, and I'm going to pass it off to Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia Penland, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Carrick.
Okay, I'm going to try to make sure I've got closed caption on. I do. Let's go. Okay, so we're here today to share about conceptual understanding with virtual manipulatives. And we're here because we know we need to share and have experiences that are positive for all learners. The National Research Council conducted a conclusive study titled Adding It Up several years ago. And it was in response to this growing concern for students not having mathematical thinking. And we know with this globalization of markets and information technology, and the majority of our careers are in STEM fields, we've got to learn to support students in learning to think mathematically and thinking mathematically to learn. So these amazing teachers are here to share about the concrete representational abstract sequence of learning. And so the big question is, why are manipulatives important? So I'm looking to two things. I'm looking for the 3 pillars of JCPS and then the mathematical practices on the right. And you'll see how they go hand in hand. Equity is the foundation for everything we do in this district, and it means access for all. And we must provide that equitable access to support students building number sense and learning grade level content if we're going to overcome this achievement gap and grow every child. Zaretta Hammond has an amazing text, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, and she refers to this inequitable access of students of poverty, English language learners, and students of color. And we need to support all students shifting from dependent learners to independent thinkers and learners. And we do that by providing tools for access. Virtual manipulatives are one of these tools. And you're going to hear from each of these teachers how they're using the tools intentionally to support students in making sense of problems and persevering. You'll see that over on Standard of Math Practice 1, and justifying their thinking, and that's Standard of Math Practice 3. Amber, Alyssa, Shelley, and Olivia are still learning, and they're going to talk about that, how to meet students and families' needs during this time. But they're going to share the intentional structures and the flexible learning opportunities they've provided for their students synchronously and asynchronously. I can't wait for you to hear from Shelley when she describes the social emotional learning she's explicit with in the math routine, Which One Doesn't Belong. She's coached her kindergarten students to be emerging innovators and effective communicators on Google Meet through shared pictures. Her sweet kinders are looking for and expressing repeated reasoning, which is Standard Math Practice 8, as they effectively communicate, which is a backpack skill, as they justify their thinking, which is Math Practice 3. You see how these work hand in hand. You're also going to hear Amber share about Miss Shoemaker's primary students. They're prepared and resilient learners as they engage in this Pixar quest. During the quest, students are using tools modeled to make sense of number and structure in the base 10 system, which is Standard Math Practice 7, as they engage in these visual tasks. We know the standards of mathematical practice and the backpack skills are equally important as content standards. And you'll hear how each of these ladies provide accelerated, meaningful learning experiences, integrating the content with these high-yield instructional strategies. On this slide, you look to the graphic on the left, talks about mathematical rigor. And we realized that building conceptual understanding is the foundation where students start to apply and procedure fluency flows from this. And Alyssa is going to share how she provides these seamless opportunities using Screencastify and virtual manipulatives to support her kinders in building conceptual understanding with team members and building fluency in 5 and 10. The math norms on the right are from Joe Bowler, and Alyssa is sending a strong message that math is about learning, not performing. And you're also going to hear from Olivia as she shares one of my favorite number sense routines, Guess My Way, as she differentiates intentionally for her kindergartner students and consciously plans asynchronous opportunities to play for students who are unable to meet live. That's equitable access. Olivia knows her kinders know that math's about communicating and connections, not about performing. You're going to hear all of these amazing teachers, and it's very evident that they know that everyone can learn math to the highest levels. So let me get started and show you where to find these tools. First, you go to the JCPS NTI page, and you'll hit Teacher Toolkit, then Teaching and Learning, and then Mathematics. From there, you'll scroll down to Virtual Manipulatives with Workspace. These are manipulatives from the Math Learning Center, and they're available at all times, not just NTI. So you can also access them through the screen on the left says mathlearningcenter.org. These tools are amazing, and the first 4 have sharing options, and I'll let these ladies talk about how the ease of that with students. I also want to remind you that there's a screencast on how to use these manipulatives and access them. It's super easy that you can watch. It's about 15 minutes if you need additional support. So before we begin, I want you to begin thinking, how might you use them? We've all learned so much during this time. But what's the struggle right now? Is it reaching kids synchronously or asynchronously? Is it with tools? Is it during a part of your virtual workshop? And I ask you to set a goal, narrow your focus, and start today. Choose one thing that you hear from these ladies and try it. Perfect never gets off the paper or across the screen. With that, I'm going to pass to Amber.
Hi guys, as I mentioned earlier, I am the AIC at Smyrna. So today I'm going to share with you a few ways that I've seen the teachers in my building use virtual manipulatives and real life experiences to make their work more meaningful, more engaging, and to build that conceptual understanding. So through NTI, it has been a learning and growing experience for all of us, and I'm truly amazed at how the teachers in my building have adapted. They're willing to try new things, and they're putting themselves out there during this time. So as Andrea mentioned, I challenge each of you to find something from our session today and go for it, just as the teachers we're showcasing today have. So the first teacher that I'm going to showcase today is Miss Shoemaker, and she is a first grade teacher. She created this Pixar quest that Andrea mentioned for her students. And the first part of it was students had $15 to build their Pixar team. So this worked on or focused on using friendly numbers and combinations of 10 to get to 15, buying whatever characters they wanted to go on this quest with. So I reached out to Ms. Shoemaker after seeing this on the first grade choice board, and I asked her, what is this quest? What's the next step that your kids are going to do? And at first we weren't real sure where we were going to go next, but she said that if I could come up with something or had an idea, that she was willing to go for it. So I took a little while and thought about it, and I came up with this idea that Charles Muntz, the guy that you see on the right side of the screen, he's the villain from Up, that he captured Slinky, and he's going to take him back to be a part of his dog pack, and that the kids could go on a quest to find Slinky and give him back to Bonnie, and along the way they would be solving math problems to figure out where Slinky was, to rescue him, and just to finish that quest. So well, the first question that they had to solve in order to rescue Slinky was the math problem, was the clock problem that you see on the screen. And they had to tell time to the half hour. And if they got this question correct, then they would figure out where Slinky was. Now, the cool thing that Miss Shoemaker did here was there's a formatting option in Google Form where you can make it to where only one question appears at a time. And only if the students get that question right does the next question come up. So once students answer this time question correctly, then the next one will come up. So the next question, if we go to the next slide, is about adding and subtracting using place value understanding and visual models. So if the students answered this part of the quest correctly, then they would release Slinky from his cage and go on to part 3 of the quest. Next slide. And part 3 of the quest is where students had to use virtual manipulatives. So the Math Learning Center manipulatives that Andrea mentioned earlier were used on this. And what Ms. Shoemaker did was put the link into the Google form. Students just clicked that link and it took them straight to the Math Learning Center Shapes app so that students could build a boat and escape from Paradise Island and return Slinky back to Bonnie. So this does not have the sharing feature that Andrea mentioned earlier. However, Ms. Shoemaker was still able to use it. She just copied that link into her form, and then students could take a screenshot or could take a picture with their phone and send it to her that way. They also had to go back to the Google form after making their boat and let Ms. Shoemaker know what shapes they used and how many of those shapes that they used. So even if it doesn't have that shareable feature, don't be afraid to try it. Ms. Shoemaker just knocked this out of the park. I gave her the idea, but she ran with it, building in the standards, building in the Google form, making it relevant, engaging, and meaningful essential standards like the building of the place value. So she did a great job building in that conceptual understanding as well. The next teacher, the next 2 learning experiences I'm going to talk about came from a 2nd grade teacher, Miss Presley. And Miss Presley has only been in the teaching field since February. She was hired, so she was in for like less than a month before we went to NTI. But she's not let that be an excuse for her. She has been a complete rock star. So one of the things that her and another 2nd grade teacher have been doing, Miss Stradley, is they have been doing the number of the day, where they talk about place value understanding and then also some mental math strategies. So I attended one of Miss Presley's number of the days and saw that she was just using a chart paper hung up behind her with all of these same things that you see on the screen. And then I just talked to her about possibly using the virtual manipulatives, the number pieces that you see. And the very next day, she was using it in her classroom. So this is exactly what she does with her kids every day. And the thing that I wanted to point out is this base 10 bank. This is where they take the number of the day from the day before and the number of the current day, and they add those together using that place value understanding. So when I combine my ones, or I add my ones, I add my tens, and I add my hundreds, they really are able to see that concrete manipulative and why those numbers add up to what they add up to. So the other one that I am going to talk about that Miss Presley did is the array project. She had students go around their house and find like objects and had them create concrete arrays with them. And then they had to write 2 repeated addition equations. And then she also challenged them with 1 multiplication equation. Now we know multiplication is not a 2nd grade standard, but she still added that in there, and those 3rd grade teachers are going to be so happy when those 2nd graders come up knowing that repeated addition and multiplication are the same thing pretty much. So just another fun way to make the work more engaging and more relevant for their kids. So I'm going to pass it on to Alyssa that's going to prove K can too.
Thank you, Amber. Like I previously mentioned, I am a kindergarten teacher at Smyrna Elementary, and today I'm going to talk about how you can use the virtual manipulatives from the Math Learning Center that Andrea showed you how to access during many lessons and when assigning tasks for your students to complete during NTI. So displayed on the slide are 2 pre-recorded lessons using the virtual manipulatives that I created for my students. The lesson on the left is using the number line tool to solve addition and subtraction word problems. And the other on the right is composing and decomposing teen numbers into tens and further ones using the number pieces tool. I choose to use Screencastify to record all of my mini lessons, and then I link them on a choice board for my students to view. I hope you get a chance at a later date to view these examples I've provided of pre-recorded mini lessons using these virtual manipulatives. So these manipulatives have been extremely helpful to myself and my entire kindergarten team when pre-recording mini lessons for students or even doing live mini lessons on Google Meet with my class. If you want to take a look at the lessons that I've shared with you, you will see how I modeled the use of both tools, including the number line and number pieces tool for my students. By doing this, it helps students to have an understanding of how to use the tools when completing their assigned work with the given manipulatives. Each day during NTI, I will have a mini lesson using the virtual manipulatives, and then I assign my students work that directly relates to the mini lesson that was taught. This gives students a chance to use and explore the virtual manipulatives to solve similar math problems. Students love using the virtual manipulatives because it engages them and it gives them a chance to explore. We, as a kindergarten team, have gotten a lot of great parent feedback about assignments using these manipulatives because students are more focused on their work and it helps them stay on task. This is essential for all students, but especially those kindergarten students trying to complete their work at home with plenty of distractions and low attention spans. While engaging with the virtual manipulatives, students find these tools so fun they don't even realize they're learning. These manipulatives also give students a chance to show and explain their thinking to the teacher and to others. One thing I do want to highlight about the lessons I've shared is how it helped that the students were already familiar with the tools after using the physical versions of them in the classroom often earlier in the school year. I would highly suggest that teachers use tools their students are already familiar with when designing their lessons. Or if not, I recommend that you spend more time virtually modeling these tools for your students. Like many of you, connecting to students during NTI has been extremely challenging for me. I have about 4 to 7 students join my live sessions because parents are unavailable to assist them logging onto a computer and in general low parent involvement. Because of this, anytime I do a live session that includes a mini lesson, I record it and then I post it in my Google Classroom. This allows students who have missed the live session to go back and view it. On the next 2 slides, it shows tasks I assigned my students directly relating to my mini lesson using the virtual manipulatives from the Math Learning Center. Also shown is completed student work for the given task. The first task I created is on the left. This task focuses on decomposing 10 using the number rack tool. After designing the task for students to complete, the virtual manipulatives make it extremely easy to share the link to the task with your students. There's a share button in the bottom right-hand corner where you can copy the link or even a code for your students to access the task. Students can complete the work and even share an image of their completed work with the teacher. On the right side of the slide, you can see examples of completed student work. One simple way our team has used for students to share their work is having parents email images or screenshots of the completed work from the virtual manipulative page. This encourages parents to help their children with their NCI work and be partners in their learning. The second task I created on the next slide is using the number frames tool shown on the left of the slide. This task focuses on finding a number when paired with a given number that makes 10. On the right of the slide, it shows examples of completed student work for the task. This is just another example of how you could use the virtual manipulatives to assign tasks to your students. Students enjoyed both of these assignments so much as it allowed them to explore the virtual manipulatives and creatively solve given problems. I encourage you to try to use these virtual manipulatives when planning mini lessons and creating engaging tasks for your students to complete during NTI. They have made teaching math during NTI both more effective for me and much more enjoyable for my students. Now on to Shaylee.
Hi, everyone. Like I said earlier, I'm Shellys Ice from Norton Commons. I am a kindergarten teacher. Today, I just wanted to share with you the journey that my team and I have went through so far through the NTI process. So we started out this process thinking what would be the easiest way for students to complete their math work and the easiest way for parents, because we knew the parents would have to be very involved with the younger students. And we thought, why not just give them a couple math worksheets a week? That would be a review or a quick and easy thing that they could do, and they could still keep up on their math skills. We decided to get feedback from parents each week because they are the ones doing most of the work with the students. And after that first week, we quickly came to realize that the worksheets just were not working for most students. They said that the students were not engaged, that even some of the students were refusing to do the work because they just didn't want to do the worksheet. So we knew that we needed to go back to the drawing board and start doing things in NTI like we do in our classrooms every day, but on an easier scale for the parents to complete. So the first thing that I did was I went back and thought about my community meetings that I have on Monday and Thursday. So during these community meetings, I have between 20 and 25 students of my 27 students show up. And we were doing calendar on both days. And I was very intentional with doing calendar because it was completely like we do in our classroom together. So I wanted to be intentional with just keeping it the same. And I thought, well, why don't I do calendar on Monday and do a share? And then on Thursday, I could do a game or a fun activity for the students to do. So one thing that the students really love is something called Which One Doesn't Belong. And it's a website that you can go to, and I have it linked on here for you. And it gives you all different types of examples of different Which One Doesn't Belong activities. It's always 4 squares, and it ranges from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. So there are plenty of examples for you to use in your classroom. I copy and paste the ones I want to use onto a Google slide, and then I share my screen with the students. Now, the good thing about Which One Doesn't Belong is there is no wrong answer, and the students know that. So at our school, we really focus on social emotional learning and them being engaged and connected with our classroom community. And this is a great way to do that because all of the students are able to share their thinking. And none of them are scared to share their thinking because they know there is no wrong answer. And another thing that I really wanted to do was give them buy in to some of the activities that we were completing. So the example on the right is one that I actually completed with examples that the students have been sending in from their work. So I did this to where the students could see their work examples. They can know that I'm looking at them, I'm using them. And today I did another Which One Doesn't Belong in my community meeting. And the students were literally saying, oh, that's mine, that's mine. So they were getting really excited about seeing their work. And it's helping them become effective communicators because they not only tell me which one doesn't belong, but they also tell me why it doesn't belong. And it helps them have a voice in the community meetings, and it helps them stay engaged. On the next slide, you will see that I put some work that we have assigned for the students. So we decided once the parents were giving us feedback that the worksheets just weren't working, we said, what could we do as a team to where the students could be more engaged, but it could still be an easy task for the parents to help with? So the first thing that we did is we came up with a task where the students were identifying 2D shapes, and I gave them a template of the paper, and they could either print it out or they could write it. And they went around their house and found 5 objects, and they were to say what the object was and what shape it was. And with this, I had a lot of really great examples. So I had one little girl draw a picture frame, and she said it was a square. Or I had one little girl, she drew a box and said that it was a rectangle. But again, we got more parent feedback from the parents, and they said that this was better, but it still wasn't great because some of the students were getting frustrated because they had a hard time drawing the object, and they wanted the object to look like it looked in their house. So again, my team and I went back to the drawing board and we said, what else could we do? So in the last example, we decided, why not use real world examples from the students using things in their house to build shapes. So we wanted to connect the real world examples so the students would stay engaged and they could see how they're using these objects. So you can see in the first picture, the little girl is making a diamond with the crowns. The second one, the little boy made a larger square out of 4 Post-it notes. And the third one, the little girl made a triangle out of the little paint containers. And the students were so engaged in this. I even had students send me videos explaining each of their shape to me, which was above and beyond what I could ever expect from them. So I hope you learned something through hearing my NTI process so far, and I hope you can just take one thing and try something new. So I'm going to pass it on to Olivia.
Hi, so like I said earlier, my name is Olivia Penland. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Carrick. I'm going to quickly talk about my journey through NTI with students and then go into how I'm using virtual manipulatives to enhance student learning throughout the NTI process. So it has also been hard for me to engage with kids during live meetings. So sharing strategies and thinking has proved to be challenging, but I feel like that challenge has been conquered through the use of virtual manipulatives. So I host live meetings with small groups of kids who are able to join and then post the live meetings to Google Classroom for students to complete on their own time. Students send pictures of their work, and I have modeled ways to do this so that I can see their thinking and the strategies that they're using. And I'll go into this a little more in detail later in my presentation. So we're using the same practice as we do in the classroom. Students are using manipulatives daily and engaging in intentional work to support the understanding of foundational skills in math, but also help students move from concrete to abstract reasoning. So one way that I'm using virtual manipulatives is through games. And one game that we have played is Guess My Way. And you'll see that in the first 2 pictures on the slide. So Guess My Way can be played one-on-one in small groups or whole class. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how to play just in case you would like to take this game back to your classroom. So Partner 1, which is usually me, as I have played with my students, thinks of a target number, and then I create that number on a Rec and Rec using 2 racks, so a rack on the top and a rack on the bottom. And then Partner 2, which has been the class, tries to guess the way that Partner 1, which is me, made the target number. So in the second picture on the slide, you'll see that the target number is 3. And under the grayed out shade is a Rec and Rec that I made 3 on. So students are trying to guess how many beads are on the top and how many are on the bottom to make 3. So a student might guess that there are 3 on top and 0 on the bottom. If they were correct, or if they were incorrect, I would say 3 plus 0 is 3, but that's not my way. And I would encourage them to guess again. So as students guess, I record the equations on the screen so that they can keep track of ways that have already been guessed. And if they guessed correct, I would say, you guessed my way, 3 on the top plus 0 on the bottom is 3. So because of the shade, students can play live or on their own time. And by clicking the little eye at the bottom of the shade, you can easily see what's behind it. So it's student friendly. And works well if they are not able to join live. So this game can be used as formative assessment and easily differentiated. So students could be challenged by adding another rack of 10 and thinking of 3 numbers that could be added together to make the target number, or by simply increasing the target number. So in my class, we've been working within 10, but I could bump that number up to within 20 or whatever would fit the needs of my students. And then on the next slide is how I've used number talks to engage students. My questions are always the same. How many do you see and how do you see them? Students are used to these questions because it's the same as when we did number talks in the classroom setting. So we're currently working on double 10 frames, and students are using strategies such as counting on, pretend to 10. Some students are making 10 and using mental math. So they're doing all different things. And like I've said, I've modeled how they can show me their thinking when they submit their work. So you'll see that some students make 5 and 10 on a 10 frame. And so they draw arrows or circle numbers to show me that. Some students write equations to show that they did mental math, or they label the dots with numbers to show that they counted on. So they've done lots of different things, and it's been really helpful, although I don't always get to see the kids live. So one student even shared his strategy by pretending he was a teacher, which was super cool. He created a video and sent it to me explaining his thinking. He was telling me how many dots he saw and how he saw them. So that was super cool as well. So virtual manipulatives support play with kids in games, and also the understanding of conceptual fluency. The site is super easy and user-friendly, and it's been a game changer for my class because of the equity and opportunity it provides for all students. So I would definitely recommend trying it in your classroom and just going for it. So now I'm going to pass it back to Andrea.
I know we're a few minutes over, but these teachers are amazing. Like, I'm getting more ideas just listening to them and playing off that. And my favorite phrase is perfect never gets off the paper or across the screen.
But we know really innovative teachers are out there working hard every day, finding ways to reach kids. And you heard several ways just now. So we want to invite you to a Twitter chat next Thursday. We're taking a week off, but next Thursday we'll be on a Twitter chat from 8 to 8:30. And all the panelists with us will be there as well, where we can talk about how we're all growing together.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. I know that there were lots of people that were in the chat with you and felt like your information was so beneficial. And I know I've gotten to see you guys before, and you are making a difference. And Andrea, I think I sent you something where my son was he was doing something that his teacher had them do, which was from this actual presentation. So thank you again for making a difference for our students.
Thanks. I love it, Elena, the pepperoni pizza.
Yes, it was so cute. He loved it. I don't know. I had to speed up that video because it was super long, but
it was great to use Jamboard too, so thank you.
You're welcome. That's my jam. Okay. Well, have a great day, ladies, and we'll see you next time. All right. So next we have celebrating learning about the world with a world in beluga.